Here is a question I want every one of you watching or listening to reflect on. Do protests actually work? In Nigeria, I mean, we've seen what has happened in other countries. If you ask them about protests in some other countries, they will be scared easy. When thousands take to the street, do those in power truly listen, or do they simply wait for the noise to fade out? From the Ali Must Go protests of 1978, the June 12 uprising in 1993, Occupy Nigeria of 2012, and of course to one of the biggest in recent history, the EndSARS movement of 2020. And just last year, August, we saw what happened on the streets of Nigerians. Nigerians have never been silent when it matters. They've marched, they've demanded change, and sometimes may have been heard. Once again, the streets are calling. This time around, the notorious one who has always been in the midst of the last few protests that I've talked about. A former union leader when he was in the university who said he's the best man to be Nigeria's president, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, who has never been content to watch from the sidelines, is mobilizing a peaceful protest demanding the release of Nnamdi Kanu.
You guys, Sowore granted an interview with Shehu of Channels Television. My people, this video is packed with a lot of things. My people, is majority of Nigerians, including the youth, are they going to divert their attention towards Sowore as the Messiah that is going to rescue Nigeria from the catastrophe that have befallen them? My people, we could watch the video together. When we return, we'll continue.
Yet another protest.
Yes.
Have you been able to achieve any result by protests?
Yes, lots and lots of results. If there hadn't been protests, sustained protests for 10 years, Nigeria probably would still be under military rule. This I know very well. If there hasn't been protest, there will still be a police unit known as SARS, a Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And if there hasn't been protests, we wouldn't have had the kind of society that we have today in terms of, a little bit of openness, democracy, and respect for rights. If there hadn't been protests, probably you and I would not be sitting here today. There won't be free press. So there's been a lot of protests that's happened, some of them big, some of them small, some of them carried out by individuals, some of them carried out in courtrooms, on the streets, some of them loud, some of them silent. But protest has achieved a lot for this country. So and that is what I believe in, protest, peaceful agitation. And it's probably the most popular resistance invented by man. Yes.
A lot of that we see. A lot has happened, especially in Africa.
Yes.
You see what is happening in the upper region of our continent today, and see what protests. Literally, people are being smoked out. Politicians are being threatened. They're worried. Simple lack of water, electricity has cost things that we have lived with all our lives.
Yes.
Triggered, and sometimes you don't know when things will tip over. Sometimes you don't know when enough will actually be enough. And some of these countries, it's not as though they've been quiet, but something has just happened and it sparked the kind of thing. The latest military coup that we've seen on the continent of Africa, don't you think we need to be careful? Our polity is too sensitive, don't you think?
Well, I don't want to discuss what is known as gaslighting of people who are engaging in peaceful, legitimate protest. I am opposed to military rule. I would never participate in a protest that allows the military to come to power in this country anymore. But I also would not overlook the excesses of the civilians who are here, who are mismanaging the people, their rights, their economy, and everything that is their dignity. Just because somebody says, if you do that, the military will take over power. All the times that military rulers have taken over power in Nigeria, it wasn't because of protest. It was because they plan it and they execute it. In fact, it's the fear of protest that has driven the military out of power. is a fear of protest has always kept the military under control, or when they are confronted with protests. And because I've been part of virtually every protest in this country since 1989 when I arrived at the University of Lagos, starting from anti-SAP, we did Babangida Must Go. It was followed by the prolonged June 12 protests. We did protests with environmentalists, Ken Saro-Wiwa. We were involved in the protests against third term. We were involved in the protests that brought people like Jonathan to power when Yar'Adua was in power, the Occupy Nigeria protest, which was mimicking Occupy Wall Street. But it turns out to be the biggest here. I was involved with that. I was involved with the protest that first challenged even Buhari. I think it was 2016 in Lagos with EIA, Charlie Boy, and the rest of them. The one that was to be organized by, I think it was Two-Face, and he's checking out the night of the protest. So that's how we started with Buhari. Even NSAS. There was a protest we did on October 1, 2021, 2020. It was myself, Deji, Henry Shields, who was on your show, and Aisha joined us in front of the U.S. Embassy. That was what led to that. It was shortly after that that NSAS broke out. NSAS, we started it. Myself, Deji, Raphael, Adebayo, Aisha also joined us, where we took, cow blood and started. And then Lagos also rose with Faz and a guy called Runtown. But most of the people who carried out NSAS, I actually invited them, including Faz. I invited him through his father, who is my lawyer. Talked to a lot of people. Some of them did not, of course, want to be part of it because the DSS had, at that point, started intimidating people. They invited Tiwa Savage, who was this music producer,
Don Jazzy.
You remember that Tiwa Savage started this hashtag "We're Tired." So the DSS took all of them in, intimidated and thoroughly, said that they bailed out. But we took over from there. So that was how NSAS started.
Although one of the protests you talked about, Obasanjo has come out to say nobody has evidence to say that he wanted a third term.
If the devil had a deputy, it would be Obasanjo.
That's defamation.
It's not.
How would you say that of a former president? One of the most respectable African in the world.
It's respected by some people, but this is not disrespect. I'm just being truthful.
You're speaking ill of the man who had gotten the grace to run this country 3 different times.
Well, he's gotten the grace to run this country 3 different times. He's also used it 3 different times to run the country down. So how can someone be more devilish than that?
Because you wanted to be president. So would you have been devilish if you had been president?
Never.
So why would you refer to him?
Because his records show that nothing could have been done by the devil that he didn't do. Burning out OD Village, Zaki Biam, manipulating elections. It was during Obasanjo that an election was held in this country where there were no serial numbers in the ballot papers. And he said Yar'Adua won the election. Even Yar'Adua himself had to repudiate that election. That's Obasanjo for you. He was the one who masterminded the third term, even though he kept denying it. But that was what made me refer to him as the deputy to the devil.
Because, that you're talking about the father of the Nigerian Fourth Republic.
Well,
he's man who literally framed...
He's the father of many things and many people. But, I have also met his children, his biological children. And what I heard from them is, it will make you shudder. For instance, I met his son, Benga Obasanjo, years ago. We rode in his car from Benin Republic to Nigeria. It was those days I used to sneak into Nigeria. And the customs, I think immigration were trying to detain me. He came not knowing who I was. And they started shouting, like, who are these people fighting with immigration? So I didn't know who he was. I went on there, saw that he wrote his name with a pen on their exercise book for entry into the country. He was coming from Benin Republic. And I said, this is Tinubugovt. So I walked to him. I said, why are you being rude to us? He looked at me and said, who are you? I said, I'm Showore. That time we were doing the Lendo reports. So he flared up. I said, oh, you people have been writing rubbish about myself. And then he turned around and said, but I like one thing you did. And I said, what is it? He said, the house that you found in Brooklyn, you were able to prove to the world I was not the owner, it belonged to my brother. And that saved me. So we left. And when he was driving, you know how security people on their own assume that the moment you have an issue, a thief with their Oga, they too have. They drove past us, you know. It was a dirt road between Nigeria and he just drove fast and they had dust covering us. And then he suddenly stopped. And he beckoned on me. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Nigeria. He said, where in Nigeria? I said, well, because we're already in Nigeria. I said, I'm going to Lagos. He said, yeah, I can give you a ride. He gave me a ride. And we spoke for the entire period. It was about 3 hours. Told me many things, including the fact that he wasn't sure if his children were his. And I asked, what do you mean? He said, I think my father has been sleeping with my wife.
That's Bengo Obasanjo?
Yes.
Alleging that his father
was sleeping with his wife. And
that's atrocious.
So, but I didn't want to believe him.
Yeah, but it can be confirmed though.
You know, he took his father to court. You can search on the internet. He sued his father.
That's what he told you?
Yes. No, he sent me the document, the court document. And that the court should determine the paternity of his children. I was shocked because I thought he was being flimsy. And then it was the time he confirmed to me that his father was behind the third term thing, that his father is very deceitful. Told me, you know, about El-Rufai, Jimmy. In fact, after the interview was published by the news magazine, interestingly, edited by Bayo Nanuga. So they had appointed me as their special correspondent at that time. So you worked closely with Bayo Nanuga, of course,
and Babafemi Ojudu, yeah,
and Baba
of the news at the time.
Otitoju. Those three guys were, you know, there was another Tayo, I forgot his name now, and what's this man's name? Kunle Ajibade. So they were my handlers. While coming to Nigeria, you know, they put me up in hotels and while I do my work. So I would do investigations for them. I would do interviews for them. But that was the biggest interview at that time. So Benga then denied that the conversation we had cannot be regarded as an interview. So Femi Falana, who was lawyer to the news and myself, wrote to his lawyers and said, this is the encyclopedia definition of interview. And that was the end of the case. They never sued. El-Rufai sued, but the case never came up because then Yaradua came, drove all of them into exile. Yes, this El-Rufai drove also Nuhu Ribadu into exile. They're all in the US with us. So I was like their handler in the US. They would talk every day, sometimes frequently, trying to figure out what's going on with Yaradua.
So most people in this government today were your former friends?
They weren't my friends as such.
They were associates?
Yes. Yeah. You know, I think when people are victimized, it automatically kind of get attracted to me because
there are those who say that you had some relationship with President Bola Tinubu.
No,
at some point, because
I never had any relationship with
no contact with him. You never spoken to him.
No, I've spoken to him on the phone when I think there was a time they were trying him for the code of conduct, and I wanted to. Somebody gave me his number because I wanted to find out what was going on, especially when he was trying to resolve the problem with Jonathan. So they were going to France to have a meeting so that they would drop those charges. So I called him, and he answered, and he said, "Who's that?" I said, "It's Showore." You know, he has this deep voice. Showore, yeah. You know, so, but that was the second time I would contact. The first was the first meeting in 1999. I was about to head to the US. They had just come in from the pro-democracy era. He was with Obani Koro. walking on the streets in Ikeja. I think Obanikoro was contesting for chairman of Ikeja local government. He was contesting for governor. And I was leaving the country. I was with Dr. Fashion and Larry Suraj, my friend. So we saw it. Dr. Fashion said, this is Bola Tinubu. And we looked at him. It was very, very
unassuming.
Very good. He just wore jeans and talked in, and he had sandals on. And I used to make fun of him that his leg was dusty, dry. And so he came into the place very quickly and left. That's the first time. Second time is this time that I talked to him. And there was the third time, I would say, was when we sat together during the presidential peace committee meeting. And that was particularly very interesting because the reason I sat where I was sitting was because in our previous meetings, I told Father Kuka, I said, we are going to sit next time alphabetically, because they were doing this thing where everybody who is not a major presidential candidate was made to sit behind the media. So I told Father Kuka, I said, when we had the second meeting, I said, Father, I'm going to sit alphabetically where my party belongs. So he said, so he dismissed me. That's no problem. So the last meeting, we were all seated, and I saw Atiku. I told Atiku, I said, you are PDP. Go and sit in your seat. He just looked at me and said, sure. Next, I saw, I think it was Peter Obi's party, but Peter Obi wasn't there, it was his vice. So, in an attempt to make sure that we are not close, because Buhari was coming, we are not close to the front, they will make a party presidential candidate sit and have his party chairman sit next to him. So all these other smaller parties accepted to sit. So I looked at where they put me. It was at the back of the curtain. So I told myself, I said, it's not happening today. We are not sitting. I'm sitting where AAC belongs. So I counted AAC, AA. I think it's A, AA, and AAC. So I sat on the third place. So when I sat down, what's this guy called? Peter Obi's deputy. He said to me, oh, that's the place for our chairman of our party. I said, who's chairman of your party? As if you say a word again, even you will not be able to sit there because you are not a presidential candidate. He said, my presidential candidate is coming, leave me. So I looked left. I saw the chairman of the APC. I saw a free space there. I wanted to sit there. He said to me, sorry, that is for our presidential candidate. I said, who's your president? He said, Tinubugovt. I said, but he has never attended some of these meetings. He said, but he attended it last time. The problem was that you went and took his picture that he was sleeping. I said, was he not sleeping? So he said, please, he's coming. So I sat next to, and then lo and behold, there was a lot of commotion. They came to me, that's not your seat. I said, this is where I'm sitting. And then there was this loud commotion everywhere. Buhari was coming in. They had gone to call Father Kuka, but he couldn't come near me because I told him that we are sitting alphabetically. So Buhari walked in, and then Tinubu Santas and sat beside me. And then he turns around and said, President Showore. I never thought he knew who I was, because I never met him before. And then he stretched his left hand and shook my hand. But I was paying attention to the media. I said, this guy is playing games with me. So I quickly shook his hand, sat back, and everybody was standing up for Buhari. I didn't stand up. And the DSS people came and said, stand up. I said, I'm not standing up for Buhari. I'm sorry. So when everybody sat back down, I took my program and was reading and Tinubu leaned over and dragged you know how you go to church and you share hymn book, started reading. I said, Ashwaji, you have your program now. You have I see two programs. It's Judge Omakalo. So I left the program for him. That's the third time in terms of contact, but that's the second contact. I'm giving you this explanation
because,
just to dispute.
The feelers are that you worked with your platform. You did a lot of expose that favored those who were close to him, and that those who are feeling that, at a time that you were In fact, there are those who said that you did a lot of stuff for the likes of Amechi. You did a lot of stuff against the government at the time.
So, in fact, one of the biggest works I did was against Tinubu. In 2008, his drug story, history from that Chicago, United States court in Chicago. I was the one who first got a copy of it and published online. The entire drug court case.
Oshowore,
yes.
Why does it look that you hate Tinubu so much?
No, I don't. See, I'm just explaining to. I don't hate any one of them.
Why do you dislike
But I hate their politics. I won't deny that. I hate the fact that they are direct opposite of what they've ever promised to be. So you can imagine that this is a Tinubu that we all, during June 12, claim we want a better country. I didn't meet him I met Abiola. We were more like directly involved with the top during June 12, which is Abiola. Even Abiola, I didn't meet more than once, which you have seen the video from Channels TV. It was an interview that was carried out by the proprietor himself. I was with Nahuru, and they had a meeting inside. It's like I went in to scatter the meeting because I went into all these politicians that I told him, I said, all these people will betray you. And in an attempt to calm him down and try to give me money, I reject. So when we were leaving...
Oh, MK wanted to silence you.
He had a duffel bag full of cash beside him. And I think that's the way he operated.
So
when we came in, he just, student leader. Because I don't know who ushered us into their big meeting. But we were the ones who were making all the big gains during June 12 protests. So he said, student leader. And I said to him, I said, Chief, all these people you are seeing.
So the Kingibes, the Anauros, all of them were in the room.
So Anahoro now said, I agree with him. You know, what's this man who now, Zugina, Mbakwe, all of them were there. Jakonde, all of them were there. They were inside his living room is like a stadium. All of them. And I think they had already given them their money. All of them are clutched to their money. So he looked at me and was giving us 800,000 naira.
At the time?
At that time. It's a lot of money. And I said,
this was 92?
1993.
93, yeah.
I said, Chief, we didn't come here for money. He was shocked. He said, nobody has ever rejected money from me. Yeah, just use it for buy fuel, transport. I said, I didn't know where we're coming from. You know, like, this money is too much. Even if we are flying a helicopter, I don't think it will cost that much. So we started to leave. And then he stood up and followed me and Nahoro. And we walked out of the place, and John Momo was waiting. That was that interview where I was behind him when I was 22 years old. Yes. So those are the people I know. But to go back to my point, you see them saying, oh, we wanted a better country. But when you look at the antecedents around that time and later, you knew that they were all in bed just looking for power. So it turns out that Tinubu then were involved with the military somehow, with Babangida.
What do you mean?
Oh, they were, if you know what they did, they were friends. He had been a senator under the diarchy that Babangida set up. Mm-hmm. So they were all working together. It was just a disagreement over power sharing.
Wouldn't that be contradictory though?
Yeah.
If you say the Tinubus of this world were in bed with the military, they were fighting. He himself and the rest, he was in fact backing the pro democracy agitators.
You should know this, and we need education around it. The military at that time had factions. They owned that faction of the military that they were working with. They were more on the side of the Babangida people, and they were part of the discipleship of Yaradua Senior, the one who died in, I think, Abakaliki prison. So, but the faction that Abacha belonged to was the one who ran them out of town and suppressed. But if you look at it beyond then, when even Abiola was supposed to be released, they kind of switched gear and they became some of the best friends with Abubakar Abdul-Salami. When Abubakar Abdul-Salami took over power and was handed over power to them, do you know where they took him to get an award? Chicago State University. I was one of the people when I protested against him there, which led Kayode Oladele, who was now in the House of Rep, to serve Abubakar with a lawsuit accusing him of killing Abiola. They eventually settled the lawsuit out of court and paid.
These are allegations that Tinubus of this world were in bed with the military. You don't have evidence.
I do. They can't deny it. I think he said it himself when he met Babangida. You know, I've given you enough circumstantial evidence to know that these things are true. For instance, when I went to Chicago to protest against Abubakar, I saw Ashoba there, and I said, Chief, so all along you people have been in bed with these people. He just told me, he said, Omodenia, you know that you are a small boy now.
Maybe it's a way to also get the military out at the end of the day, because there is a way that you get to the street. Sometimes you get.
No, but I've described their political antecedents to you. It wasn't they had to see whatever is happening now. They have planned it all along. We had a pure position on how to drive the military out of power. They joined us because there was a fight. They had an issue amongst themselves. And I think in the course of that fight, they maintained that relationship with the military. And because they were not here, you wouldn't know. They all were in exile. We were the ones roughing it out here.
So yes. That's the reason. That's your reason for not liking Bola Tinubu's
when you look at what they are doing now, it makes the military look like nice people.
Oh
yes,
you're comparing a democratic
whatever they're doing now makes
to a military rule. What makes this government look like a military rule?
No, you look at what they're doing with human rights. You look at what they are doing with freedom of speech. This Tinubu government has implemented suppression of free speech more than the military.
How?
Do you know how many people are pulled out of police stations and prisons because of cybercrime?
And that's Tinubu.
Who appointed the IG? Whose government are we under? No, just tell me.
There could be anybody doing all of that.
No, you can't do that if the president doesn't approve.
Do you know what your children are doing right at home at the moment? Can you be held responsible?
I may not be held responsible, but I know where my children are at all times, courtesy of technology.
I'm saying there are a lot of things that could happen under a government that you cannot hold the head of the government directly accountable. Yes, the box stop on the table, but when you blame Tinubu
I'm glad that you said the box.
You guys say corruption have really eaten deep in Nigerian system. Corruption has built cathedral in Nigeria. Corruption don't build duplex on top Nigerian citizens. Guys, a lot of things is happening in this country. And as a matter of fact, a lot has happened in the past. This man sure knows a lot. I can imagine what is happening during those days. He said he's 22 years and he rejected 800,000 naira from the former president of Nigeria, Ibrahim Babangida. You can imagine what 800,000 naira is in the year 1993. My goodness, this man really fought a good fight for Nigerian citizens. And I pray that one day he will live to see a Nigeria that is working, a Nigeria that will work. Today, the student union we have in Nigeria story, they have all been compromised. They cannot even say anything against the government anywhere where they face. Then they face. I don't know how these people was able to weaponize hunger, weaponize hardship, they weaponized people's stomach. That's even if they see that this thing is white, once money is involved, they will tell you that it is black. It is well with us. So I pray that one day well-meaning Nigerians will live to see a Nigerian that is working. They will live to see a Nigeria where there will be a equitable distribution of wealth, because we have it all. We will live to see a Nigeria where our children will not have to go to bed with an empty stomach. It is well with us. I pray also that the will of the people will prevail come 2027 election. I pray that people will determine and defend themselves for themselves and their future generations unborn. And our future generations unborn, I follow, Sha. I follow, I beg, Onobisha, I follow. We will live to see a good Nigeria. We will live to see a better Nigeria. We will live to see a best Nigeria. That is my prayer in Jesus' name. Guys, I'll see you in my next video. Do like this video, comment, share, turn on the post notification. So anytime I upload a new video, you'll be the first to get notified. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and have dominion. Bye-bye.